Happy Friday, and I thought I would make a little tea and do another one of my Neat Thoughts videos. I did a video about a month back called 10 Things in Your Closet You Can Get Rid of Today. It was sort of a fun video to help people who were trying to declutter their closet make easier decisions about like where to start if they were trying to get rid of some clothes, to make room for more clothes, or to just simply declutter because they were overwhelmed. And it was a fun video, and I got one really interesting comment from a subscriber on that video saying that she wasn't sure about the message of my channel, asking whether I was an organizing guru, and indicating that it looked like I had too many things in my closet and I could declutter as well. An opinion which I totally respect, and I welcome any constructive criticism on the channel. That's what YouTube is for, and that's what makes it so wonderful. I tried to reply in a thoughtful way. It did make me think about what exactly clutter is, so I thought I would come on here and talk about my feelings, personally my feelings about clutter and what clutter is, and how it's defined. So first, let me take a sip of my peppermint tea. Okay, so let's begin by talking about stuff and people's relationship with their stuff. I was in college in the 90s, and I was in high school in the early 90s, and I do remember that it was a time of excess. There was a .com boom. People were getting rich out of like selling domains, and they were buying all of these fancy cars and bags and coats and dresses and houses, and it was just going crazy. People were living in excess, and the 90s were an era of excess, and I think that even continued into the early 2000s. People just loved having stuff and sort of showing off their stuff, a lot of status symbols and things like that. And I believe as a backlash to that movement, the minimalism movement kind of started. People started getting rid of their possessions, living with less. Now we have tiny houses, which I think are really sweet and cool. I actually know someone who lives in a tiny house. It's really awesome, adorable little house. It actually works really well for this person, and so on and so forth. So in the minimalism movement, people let go of all their possessions. They have this clean look to their houses, and they are, feeling great with living with less stuff. I believe that as part of this movement, people who aren't part of the minimalism movement have started to feel a little bit ashamed of having stuff. There's been, an increase in the word clutter. And I do believe there is a lot of clutter in the world. We have a lot more possessions than we used to in, like, say, the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. We just are collecting a lot more stuff, and we're keeping a lot more stuff. Some of that is hereditary. If your mother or your father just kept a lot of stuff, some of those, the Depression era individuals didn't know where the next thing was coming from, so they just had to keep all of their stuff. If they never knew, whether or not they'd have a chance to buy a new chair, so they just kept 5 chairs just in case one of them broke. And so some of that can be hereditary. And some of that is definitely like learned, especially if you were raised by someone who was very meticulously neat and had nothing, and you decide that you just want to rebel and keep everything. In thinking about that and the guilt that people have involving having stuff, I developed a philosophy that it is okay to have stuff. I used to have another blog, which I'm gonna revamp it a little bit. I did take it down, but one of the blog posts on that blog was called "It's Okay to Have Stuff." And a lot of the time when I go to clients' houses, they feel guilty about having stuff. So what is clutter? And clutter, in my own mind and in my own philosophy, is different than stuff. You can have stuff and have it not be clutter. And you can have I, for example, have about 30 blushes. I don't need 30 pink powders to put on my cheeks, but I like them and I like the variety. It's like my makeup weakness. For, another person, that is just way overwhelming and they would never be able to make a decision when it's time to put on blush. It just would overwhelm them. And that is pretty much the sole definition of what clutter is. Clutter is solely defined by the stuff and your relationship to the stuff and how it makes you feel. If you look at the possessions around your household and around, where you live in your car or whatever, if you feel like they make you anxious, if you feel like they make you uncomfortable, if you feel like they make you overwhelmed, that's a word I hear a lot when I go to clients' houses, then it's time to address it. And also if the items, maybe you don't feel overwhelmed, but maybe it's affecting your relationships with people in your family or your friends. Say that you have so many possessions that they can't come over to visit, or that when they come over to visit, they're uncomfortable and they're upset. Then maybe it's time to address the items in your house. However, clutter is, in my opinion, in the eye of the beholder. There are a lot of things which I refer to as either I refer to them as stimulators, but they're commonly known as tchotchkes. They don't do much of anything. They just kind of make you happy or make you feel a certain way. I don't personally believe in having a lot of these things. I don't collect a lot of them. I do have a few, actually. I have a little Pikachu and a little Wolf Link with Midna here. I am a gamer, as you can tell. Look at my shirt. It says Pokemon Trainer. I'm definitely a Pokemon trainer. So those are some of the few sort of tchotchkes I have around. Other than that, I don't have a lot of reason to have a lot of those types of things around. However, I know people who are very good friends of mine who have a vast collections of items like this, but it doesn't bother them to have it. In my house, it would be clutter, but in their house, it's treasures. So it's really in the eye of the beholder, and the bottom line is clutter is your relationship to the items and how they make you feel. Again, if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel anxious, if you feel upset and sad around the clutter and don't have any idea what to do with it, that's when you call someone like me or my colleagues and help you deal with it. Otherwise, you're probably doing okay and it's probably fine. And there's a common misnomer, or not misnomer, but there's a common misconception that individuals who help others, like myself, organize their spaces and declutter their spaces and downsize and things like that are minimalists by nature. And I personally know several other professional organizers. We're all friends. They're all really nice ladies. And we've had several meetings and hangouts and things like that. And the misconception that people who organize are minimalists is not true most of the time. We're just normal people like you and me. We're just normal people like you. We go out shopping. We do a little bit of retail therapy every now and again, especially in a homeware store. An organizer can go crazy in there. But we love to buy clothes and things like that. The only difference is that when we go out and go shopping, we make a decision based on whether or not we have room to store the item in the house and whether or not we don't really need it, but whether or not it's going to bring joy into our lives enough to fill in the space in our house. And the other difference is that when things get out of control in the house, we pretty much have it down to, we know how to handle it. So those are my neat thoughts for Friday. I hope that you enjoy this video. I'm thinking about doing this once a month, just talking about organizing and home stuff, just once a month, really casual with you guys. Let me know if you like this video. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Give it a thumbs down if you don't like it. That's totally fine. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I'm gonna put the subscribe button right there. You can go down and press it. It looks like that. And actually, if you guys want to follow me on social media, I am on Twitter, I am on Facebook, and I am on Instagram, so you guys can connect with me there. We can also talk in the comments down below. I like that too. And I will see you guys on Monday with a pantry video. Get excited. All right, you guys, have a great weekend, and I will see you guys later. Stay neat. All right, bye.